Ashford Social Media presents Face to Face, an in-depth look into the lives of Ashford Social Media's most accomplished members, with your host, Christine Larkin.
Hello and welcome to Face to Face, brought to you by Ashford Social Media. I'm your host, Christine Larkin, and we're here today with Ava Sammarco. She's an LPN supervisor with Park Creek Assisted Living Facility up in Williamsville, New York.
Hi.
Hello, Ava. Welcome. It's so good to have you here.
Oh, I'm very pleased to be here. I'm coming from Buffalo, New York, and I love New York City.
Oh, don't we all? So you specialized in senior services, acute care, geriatric care. Tell us about your current position.
Well, my current position is an LPN supervisor at Park Creek Assisted Living, which is in Williamsville. It's a suburb of Buffalo, New York. Geriatric care, well, yes, geriatric care, assisted living and memory care, I should say. Primarily, that is geriatric care. I've been in geriatrics probably since I was the age of 18. And I do like the older folks, I should say. Sometimes it can be very challenging.
Sure.
But mainly is what I've learned through these years is that older people have a lot to give, okay? I've learned so much. Park Creek is wonderful. It's a wonderful facility. The staff is very nice, and it tries to give the residents a homey atmosphere. Other than that, when I first started, I started out in this big old mansion called a wheelchair home.
Okay.
And in a nursing home. And that's where I fell in love with all this, working with geriatrics and things like that. Before I did home care. And before that, I was a candy striper, so my mom really got me into this. So she's the guilty party.
But anyway, right? So was this always a lifelong dream to be a nurse?
No.
No.
Actually, I wanted to talk broadcast, which I'm doing now.
How do you like that?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
With radio and things like that.
Okay. So Ava, tell us some of the challenges of senior care.
One of the challenges, especially in the memory care unit, is sometimes dementia can be challenging in itself. One of the daily challenges in that particular situation is you have to constantly redirect the person, because the long term is there but the short term isn't. So it can be kind of frustrating at times, and it's not their fault. So you sort of have to join the journey, so to speak. And meaning that you have to, go along with them sometimes. Their husband could be dead 50 years, but you have to, say, well, he's not coming today. He was here yesterday.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Sure.
So that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is sometimes they can get into fights.
Physical or verbal?
Well,
or both.
Verbal. Sometimes it can be physical. Verbal, they can argue at the dining room table and stuff like that. Because most of them are set in their own ways, and you figure if you've been doing this for 80 years, they're not going to change. Or else I get sometimes, I've done this for 80 years, and how old are you? Or, things like that. But on the other hand, I don't want to make it sound all negative. We have an older resident there who was a nurse. She's 98 years old, and to draw on her wisdom is really amazing. Yeah. And she really functions very well. We have 90-year-olds that function very well.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So
are people living longer than ever? Are you seeing that population increase?
Yes, and it's always more men than women.
Is that right?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Oh, that sounds ironic when women
well, they are a woman.
Yeah, and women live longer than men, I thought, but
yeah, they
not
do.
So.
Yes. Well, there's more women ever than I've seen in assisted living than men.
Okay.
So we are living longer, it seems, than men. But like I say, it depends on your situation, your lifestyle.
Do you think that's a good thing? Are you in agreement with some of the advances in technology and medications that allow people to live longer than ever before? What is the quality of life there? Well,
we are doing that with the technology and the medications. A lot of people are into health things and everything too. Taking care of themselves, we mentioned this on the radio show, right? Alternative things, alternative medicine that helps, the natural way of doing things. A lot of people are into herbs and things like that, instead of using the medication. Although sometimes they can use it in conjunction with their medication. I just want to verify that. Not say not to take your medication.
Right.
But a lot of times it can work well with the medication, but as always, you have to check with your doctor.
Sure.
Because you don't know whether it's going to interact or not.
And you're an advocate of the mind, body, soul, holistic approach.
Yes,
to
I'm a
health.
member of the American Holistic Association.
Oh, very nice.
We have our meetings in Buffalo.
Okay.
And that's what nursing is, basically. Holistic, meaning you take the whole body, mind, body, and soul, because we're all connected.
That's right.
And that's why even more churches are having like parish nurses, because your spirituality, everything is connected to your whole being. That's why people have ulcers, because this and this are connected.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why you get the ulcers.
I witnessed the long illness of my mother, and I was her primary care person, so I'm very familiar with the environment of an assisted living nursing home facility, and her spirituality was paramount in her lasting 5 years beyond what any of her doctors thought.
Right.
So I understand that very well. So tell me a little bit about the difference between a nursing home and an assisted living facility.
The difference between an assisted living and a nursing home is they're assisted with their ADLs, which is activities of daily living. Okay, they might need assistance. They don't need total care. Usually in an assisted living, they have to be able to walk on their own and transfer, you know,
Okay.
out of a chair, off the toilet, things like that.
Into the bed as well, that's part of it.
Right. Where skilled nursing, it's, you know, they can have complete total care. They may not be able to get out of bed. They may need a lift to get out of bed. They may need help transferring on and off the toilet, out of a chair, help washing up, which is total care. That's why it's called skilled nursing. It's rough. I give people a lot of credit because I've done it.
Incredible. Which leads me into my next thought. Nursing seems to be a calling. Something now, for you, it was sort of a second career. You said you wanted to be a broadcaster, but
Right, but I think it's a calling too for me.
I do. I've watched what these nurses do, both RNs, LPNs, supervisors, and every day I would say, you're really something. Thank you for what you do. Tell us about that demand, the physical demand.
The physical demand with the lifting is, it can be very demanding. I always say, if you can't lift them, get somebody else or get somebody's help. Good body mechanics that they try to teach, you when you start a job. Unfortunately, one of the occupational hazards of nursing is back injuries.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you asked that question. And you really have to guard your back, you know. Lift with your legs, put the pressure on your legs, things like that.
Like you're a hydraulic.
Exactly.
Yeah. I learned that in ballet.
Did you? I
Sure.
took ballet too.
There's ways to use your body that doesn't tax your lower back, because if you pull that out, you're
Right.
out of commission. You know, that can be really, really tough. So tell me a little bit about some of the new graduates that are coming out. I mean, I've been reading certain things that are saying first year is brutal and there's a big drop off. What are you seeing and why this drop off?
Well, a lot of it has to do with, I did a show on this, Nurses Eat Their Young. A lot of times the nurses that have been nurses for a while, are already working there, tend to view them as, here they are, they're coming out of school, so Susie Sunshine, and they haven't had any of the bodily fluids on them, or they don't know what it's like, or this or that. Sometimes you run into that where other nurses are nasty. That can happen. Not in every case. I do want to clarify that, okay? Not in every
Ava.
case, nurses. Okay, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And they say statistically within the first 6 months or to a year, they get another job.
Wow.
Yeah.
In another facility, or do they ever go
Maybe
into
transferred to another floor, another facility.
I see.
I have a friend that graduated from nursing school, and she lasted like 7 months on the floor, and now she's a volunteer coordinator for the same hospital. But she works as a volunteer coordinator. So
Yeah.
there you go.
There you go. And in any profession that can happen, really. If you get in a situation where you're not happy, you make a move.
Right.
So Ava, tell us a little bit about your radio show that is coming up. It hasn't launched yet, right? Nurses Notes?
Nurses Notes, not
I
yet.
love
It has a little logo. I was telling you, Chris, the microphone with the little nurse's cap.
Okay.
Speaking Nurses Notes. That's in the making. I've had that project for a couple years. I had to put it on the back burner for a little bit because I've had other things that came up first, to do.
Busy.
But that is, I think nurses, need to be informed about certain things, about certain health issues. So I decided to probably launch that maybe next year.
And will it be on a local radio station?
Local radio station.
Up in Buffalo?
Up in Buffalo. We haven't decided yet. We have to talk to a couple people, but we do want to launch that. A couple nurses
great.
and myself, especially with holistic issues.
Sure. What will some of the segments will be a varied variety of topics?
Right, exactly. Health issues, nursing issues that come up, things that people may not know about nursing. You know, things like that. Have nurses come on and talk.
Great.
You know, about different issues, and and I'll put that on the internet and things like that, YouTube,
Beautiful.
whatever.
You can put it everywhere now.
Everywhere.
You also have a TV show. It's on a cable station. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's called Health Focus. I do it with a co-host. Her name is Ava Sammarco. And we do it, I would say, we used to do it every month when we got so busy. We do it like every 2 months or so. We have local practitioners come on, and we have had holistic acupuncture, chiropractic. We've had Lockport MRI. Lockport, New York is near Buffalo.
Okay.
We've had, what else have we had? A lot of things.
Is it similar to your radio show in that, but it's a different medium?
Different medium. It's similar to that.
Similar
the only
segments?
thing, right, but the only thing is on Health Focus, we won't have a lot about nursing.
Okay.
We try to make it for the lay person, And a lot of times I go off on a tangent and we say cut because, people, you know why it's ingrained in you to use those technical terms?
Sure.
Cut, because nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
So let's say in English, Ava. So
Lay terms.
lay terms. So we try to make it for, the lay person. And our target audience is 18 and up.
Great.
So.
Well, by 18, you certainly have enough people that are thinking of graduating high school and going on to college.
Right,
and there's so many
exactly.
people that go into healthcare now. So, Ava, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and continue our conversation. We'll be right back with Face to Face with Ava Sammarco.
Advocating, educating, and inspiring healthcare improvement for newborns and their families is the mission of Dr. Barb CNM, LLC. Dr. Barb is passionate about kangaroo care, holding the newborn skin to skin on mother's chest, starting immediately after birth. This is the optimal habitat for newborns, where they adapt to life outside the womb. To learn more about kangaroo care and Dr. Barb's consulting services, visit drbarbcnm.com. Coach D, let me ask you, how was the Ashford experience?
It was fantastic. I just cannot say how honored, privileged, and humble I am to be here at Ashford with everybody that has taken the time to talk with me, to chat with me, to get to know me, from myself to get to know them, from the CEO all the way down. Everybody's just been totally fantastic.
The Ashford experience includes a hotel stay in New York City, a Broadway show, and a limo to and from the studio to record your radio show, as well as dinner with the host and executive producers. Enjoy the benefits of the Ashford experience for yourself. Call today at 1-888-945-4442. All business owners want to be number one, break new ground, and reach new heights. However, the corporate world can be a vast and unyielding place. Don't become lost on your path to success. You need help achieving the results you're looking for. Allow Mark Lindsay to show you the way. Mark Lindsay's $10,000 profit challenge guarantees you an increase in business and cash flow. No gimmicks, just results. For more information on Mark Lindsay and his company, visit his website, coachmarklindsay.net/guided tour. Let Coach Mark Lindsay double your business in 16 months. Make your decision today.
And we're back with Face to Face, brought to you by Ashford Social Media. My guest today is LPN Supervisor Ava Sammarco. So before the break, we were talking about the stresses of nurse care on a physical basis. Some of the nurses that drop off after the first year. Your TV show, your radio show, you're a busy woman, and I know you're very active outside of your professional life. You're a member of the American Cancer Association, American Heart Association. You even enjoy tennis. You love cooking. Tell us, how do you fit it all in?
I don't know. It's really hard. I'm a member of the American Holistic Association, Nurses Association, Nurses Christian Fellowship, and the Parish Nursing Association of Western New York. which we're having a health fair through the Nurses Christian Fellowship. But I don't know, cooking, that's a good one for me. I love to cook. I do know how to cook some things, believe it or not, Mom, I do. But I learned a lot of things from my mom because she's a good cook. Exercising, I have to exercise more. I'm guilty of that. The problem is, I like to eat, Christine.
I do too.
Okay. And growing up in an Italian family, you know, it was like, mangia, you
right.
know? Oh,
You want more?
Yeah, you want more? You're not eating? Are you sick? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, if you don't eat that last scrap, you know, you were sick. So I think what I need to do is just to work out a little more, which I plan on doing. We have a bunch of festivals in Buffalo, the Italian, the Greek, and all that. We're noted for all of those. And there's so many restaurants in Buffalo. So, not that all we do is eat, because I do like tennis. I love tennis. I haven't played racquetball in a long time. I don't know if you've ever played
I used to
that.
enjoy racquetball.
Yes.
Yes, actually
was
very
fun.
much.
You get to hit some.
Back in the day, that was very popular. Yeah, the
Yes, it
paddle
was.
didn't feel good when it missed the ball.
Right.
So you like to stay active, but you also love eating, and don't we all? Especially Italians, it's so ingrained in the culture and in any of the cultures that are around the Mediterranean, right?
The Mediterranean, you're right, the Mediterranean
cultures are very much associated with socializing around the dinner table, and to me it's still one of my absolute favorite things. But I have an idea for you. Just portion control.
That's right.
You can still eat whatever you want.
You know what? I know that, and nurses are the greatest defenders. I realize that with portion control, but you want to know something? When you the problem is when you taste this, you know this yourself. Oh my God, who made this? So this and that. And you're right, it's like a social event.
Oh yeah.
And I got to taste some more of this and all that. Can I have your recipe? Oh, this is delicious. I never had anything like this.
Well, my biggest offender, and I'm sure yours, bread.
Yes.
I could live on bread, and I've cut that back, and it really has helped. So now going forward into this career, what do you see coming down the pike with the advances in the medications? I know we talked a little bit earlier about people living longer, but where does it stop on an ethical basis? How long is too long to live? Tell us a little bit about, with the advances of technology and medications, and if one doesn't have a DNR in place, which is do not resuscitate, then we're talking about feeding tubes and defibrillators, which isn't
and ventilators.
And ventilators. So where do we draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? In the case of like the Schiavo case, Terry Schiavo, I mean, the poor woman existed so long. So what do? Do you let her endlessly go on like that? And I know a lot of people don't believe, and they consider that euthanasia. In other words, you know, you put her to death.
Right.
The only thing is, my feeling on that was that, you know, you can take the feeding tube out, but, you know, and she lasted some days later. I don't know. Well, that's another story, but if you do that, you know, you got to be careful too. But they said she didn't realize anything, you know, not to be eating or anything without the feeding tube.
But her family, what about the family going through seeing her in that condition?
Well, the husband, you know, thought he was doing the right thing. The family didn't want it because they felt that there was still something there. So, with her, and they said, no, she can't feel anything. Some people I was talking to felt like they were starving her to death because of taking the tube out. To me, it seemed like a prolonged death to me. Okay.
Inevitable.
Inevitable. But how do I say this? I don't know. My point was, they said she couldn't feel anything, but how do you know she's not in agony still? But getting back to your question, yes, how long is to live? How long, you know?
How long is too long?
Too long.
Where do we draw that line, and how do we draw that line?
That's why you have to have a healthcare proxy, living will, a DNR, a do not resuscitate, because if you don't, and if you don't have somebody to speak for you or this or that, they will revive you and put you on like a feeding tube and life support and all that.
And for an elderly person, that can be very, very traumatic.
Right, and then you have to go to court and all these things.
Yeah.
But like I say, you know, and the families, you're right, to see somebody, you know, linger on like that, and then especially when
it takes its toll.
Right. And they're not talking, and they can't. You know, that person really is not there. You have the shell. Where's
I was
the
going
soul?
to mention that. They're not the person you knew and loved.
Like dementia.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do become someone else.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting. I actually gave my mother a nickname.
Did you? What was it?
I called her Lucy. She was so
Lucy?
adorable.
Yeah.
She was like this little old Lucy. She wasn't my mom anymore, really, except her kiss. Her kiss was still there.
Oh.
So it's a beautiful thing that you do. And so what draws you to the geriatric population? You said they're filled with wisdom and there's so much you can learn. Tell us a little bit more about
I think the reason why I'm drawn to the geriatric population is I was close to my grandparents. I had one set of grandparents and another grandmother. They were neighbors. They lived next door.
Oh, nice.
And I was exposed to a lot of elderly people at a young age. So I think that's what drew me to them, because they were always very warm and affectionate to me.
They're always around.
Yeah,
and they had
were
good
always around.
recipes.
And good recipes, and cooking, and
Those family recipes.
yes, the family recipes, the sauce on Sunday, things like that. I mean,
Is that still a tradition for you?
not so much anymore. I have sauce during days of the week now. But it used to be, you know, you had your sauce on Sunday, you had your meat, your salad, things like that. And
Which makes me think of something. How important is tradition in staying healthy for a person who is moving on in age and maybe before they've come to a place like yours? How is that tradition, how does that play a role in their joy?
well, you mean for eating and things like that? Yeah, it does, because I've taken care of clients too who have their traditions, and like, you know, if you're Jewish, with the Sabbath is on Friday. They had their Sabbath, they had, you know, their kosher foods and things like that. There was an Italian lady. She always had things like, we have St. Joseph's Day. I don't know if you have that here in New York. No.
I think so.
Where's the tradition?
Buffalo sounds pretty religious and traditional. It sounds
very,
nice.
Yes, very traditional. I wouldn't say so much religious, but very traditional. They have a lot of ethnic festivals there. And I believe that your ethnicity, yes, it has
The
a
word
lot
of
to
the
do.
day.
The word of the day, ethnicity. That's what it is. I got
And
it.
recipe.
And recipe has a lot to do with, yes, you're prolonging your life, and especially your family visiting and your traditions, because some people live for those, you know.
Yes. So Buffalo sounds very traditional. Some of your clients at the facility, have they lived in the area for a long time?
Yes, they have. A lot of them, grew up in the west side of Buffalo. Previously, I'm trying to think, was more of an Italian tradition. Now it's Hispanic, which is fine. They have a lot of their traditions too.
Yeah, sure.
North Buffalo is now primarily the Italian district of Buffalo, the traditions and everything. We have our Italian Fest, which we love going to. It has all your Italian foods and things like that. This weekend in Buffalo is the Greek Festival too. That is at the Hellenic Church. Buffalo's very close-knit community, I would say. Being with their traditions, people look forward to that. There's the Allentown Art Festival, which I've had people comment they've ever seen a festival like that. I think for Buffalo, being a smaller city, of course, than New York, it's not the mistake on the lake, you know, that people think. It has a lot to offer.
I've
so
never
please
heard
come
that.
visit it. Yes, it's not, and we don't get all the snow either. But it's very fine. We have Niagara Falls too, and it's really wonderful.
So these clients at Park Creek, they have lived in this area for a long time.
Oh,
So,
sure.
so there's a lot of history in generations. Do you see multiple, I don't know how long you're working at Park Creek? Tell us how many years.
Well, here about 2 years, and I worked at other facilities longer, but here for about 2 years, yes, they do have traditions, and you see it handed down through the generations.
That's,
yeah.
I wanted to ask.
Polish traditions, Italian.
Are you seeing multi-generations come into the facilities?
Now, okay, when I was growing up too, you know, Italians married Italians, Polish married Polish.
Yeah, not so anymore.
Not so, no. Oh no, with their generation, yes, but now you have, with now some of the younger ones, some people are, you know, maybe in their 60s. And,
that's young.
well, to have dementia, there's the youngest one we
that's
had,
young.
65, before we had a 44-year-old with Pick's disease, which is a form of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So,
And do you think that these mixed cultures now are changing health?
a little bit, yeah. Because everybody has their own cultural traditions, their own beliefs too. You know, my grandmother used to have take baking soda and water for heartburn, among other things. What else did she do? Was always milk and you know, things like they do. Always Anacin too, you know, which today may not be the case.
Yeah.
They may take a herbal thing in addition to their medicine and things like that. Yeah, her baking soda and water, or take mint or something like that. Although
it's
peppermint is
changing.
good for heartburn. But anyway.
It's very fascinating that
Yes.
through the different cultures, those old-fashioned remedies are quote-unquote old-fashioned, right?
Right.
In some cases, they're being used, but in others, you're seeing them disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the herbs that people are using?
Oh, like lavender well, I got to say this.
Lavender's a big one.
Lavender helps you sleep.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we have little packets, we call them dream pillows, that we have in our American or our holistic nursing group.
Okay.
You put a little bit under your pillow, and it does help you sleep. Just the aroma of
It's a beautiful aroma.
You know, different things. There's a lot of them out there.
But that's the more popular?
Yes, lavender.
Great.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned on one of our radio shows that I had you on that I have a lavender beanbag.
Yes, you
that goes over the eyes, and it's such a very soothing scent. So, what is the future of healthcare in terms of combining mind, body, soul approach with the traditional medicines?
Well, exactly. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think we're going to see more of the traditional and the alternative working together. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like say for instance, our body, there's a melatonin. Melatonin's helps you sleep. Melanin's a pigment. Some of our residents take melatonin to help them sleep, and it does help them sleep.
Beautiful.
And you can get that over the counter, although consult with your doctor first. But in other words, you're seeing that as opposed to maybe they might take something for sleep.
Right.
I think that in healthcare, I've seen it a lot. We're going to see more of that, definitely.
You think that's a good thing?
Yes and no. Yes, I do, in a way, because the no part of it is you don't want people not to do that only and not take their medication. Yes, I think it's a good thing to complement your traditional medicine, yes.
So what's the future for Ava Sammarco? Do you think you'll be a nurse forever? Any other professional goals?
Till the day I die, I'll be a nurse. It'll be on my tombstone, Ava Sammarco, the nurse.
I like that.
I think because it becomes, and any nurse will tell you, part of your identity. You know, they won't even, some people won't even say my name, you know, or like the residents, the nurse, you know, or when I walk in, she's the nurse, like I'm this big Gestapo.
Well, you're a supervisor.
Supervisor, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I try, you know, to help them. But the future is I'll be a nurse for all of my life. I plan to continue, you know, this broadcasting with the radio shows, our own show, our health focus. Hopefully continue teaching.
Busy, busy woman.
Busy woman, yes.
Boy, you could add that on the tombstone, too.
Yes.
And she was a busy woman.
And she was a busy woman. Here lies Ava Sammarco.
Well, it's just been lovely having you here.
It was
so nice to
meeting
meet you. Same here,
yes.
Ava. Been a
Want
pleasure.
a recipe?
Yeah.
Yeah? Recipe.
I love meatballs, but mine are getting better and better all the time.
Oh, okay.
Send me a secret recipe that
I
nobody
will.
else has other than you.
I sure will.
Thank you so very, very much.
You're welcome.
It's been our pleasure having you
My
here.
pleasure, too.
Thank you for joining us on Face to Face with Ashford Social Media. My guest today was Ava Sammarco. She's an LPN supervisor at Park Creek Assisted Living Facility in Williamsville, New York. I'm Christine Larkin. Until next time, thank you for watching Face to Face.
To be a guest on Face to Face, please call 888-945-4442 and ask to speak to one of our producers. This has been an Ashford Social Media production.